And we are live, apparently.
We are live. Hooray!
We made it. Hello and welcome to Developer Insights. I'm David.
And I'm Justin.
And together we are the leads on game development and design here at Codename.
And we also founded Codename too.
And we will be your hosts for this episode and every episode.
Unless the previous host doesn't turn their show off, in which case the show won't happen.
That's true, or at least it'll be a little bit late.
Today is our 98th episode.
And that is 100% fact.
Is that some play on the episode title?
I think, obviously, yeah.
What is that about, anyway?
You know, I'm not sure, but I saw it on the Discord, and I think it was someone's assessment of our accuracy. The show's accuracy, specifically.
It doesn't even add up to 100%.
I think that was part of the dig.
All right, well, I'll try not to take that personally.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are here to answer your development and design questions about IdleChampions.
Of course, if you don't ask any questions, you may have to suffer through Justin's one-man reenactment of his first hour of Cyberpunk 2077 gameplay. Hey, isn't that game, like, really old at this point?
Well, it's not really old, but I just recently upgraded my GeForce 670 to a 3070, and now I can play it.
You had a 670?
Mm-hmm.
In your gaming PC?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well,
I had kids a couple of years ago, and that's
so what do you think?
Stopped.
What do you think of Cyberpunk?
Oh man, it's so shiny.
You talking about the game or the video card?
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, as always, we have pulled forward some questions from the previous show that we did not get to, so we will answer some of those while we are waiting for new questions to come in. But before we get to those, we do have some updates on items flagged to get looked at by the dev team. So without any further stalling for time, because I don't think we need any more stalling for time today, we'll get started with those. Let me find that doc. That's the wrong doc. Aha. Okay, so I do have a couple of new features and fixes that were put in. I know Mark is hard at work at going through the list of items that we were growing but not shrinking. So the three items I have here, then I bear in mind these are on Mark's branch and they will get pushed out, although I know a bunch of the ones I mentioned last week did get pushed out, but I don't have a list of which ones those are. So anyway, the three items we have today that are complete but aren't out yet is increasing the number of blacksmith contracts that you can use at a time. That goes up to 250 right now. We may consider it increasing it further, but for now it's 250. We have adjusted it so that the distraction timers persist from one area to the next, which was flagged as a bug on the show where if you have, speed, any of the speed stuff was preventing distractions from spawning if you were going too quickly between areas, that is. And then we've added mount arrows to the amount selection for buying chests. We still have a number of items that are in progress. That includes making it so that season champions do not appear in the free time gate choice, adding hotkeys for all new systems, and making sure that all the old systems have hotkeys assigned to them, confirming that all areas do have distractions properly assigned to them if intended to be there, preventing a player that was kicked from a trials lobby from just simply rejoining it immediately, or adding an order to the favor display, adding a sort by slot option to the blacksmith contracting screen, placing the current day on the season dialogue, tracking achievements in the quest tracker, and adding a second exclamation point to the adventure party display to show that the party is at the goal. Okay, on to leftover questions from last week's show. First question of the day is from Loopy79, and they ask, on the subject of ultimate blocking feats, could Havilar get a feat or a group of feats to auto-activate one particular imp when she levels up? Currently, trying to use her in an automated speed team doesn't work very well, and being able to use her abilities more productively would be nice.
Yeah, so I saw this question last week, and we just ran out of time to address it. But I think it's a good idea, and just for some backstory for people who maybe weren't here last week, we were talking about basically a very common player request to have the sort of wandering ultimate familiars not use certain characters' ultimates because they have effects that change when you use their ultimate, and once you get those effects to the right spot, you don't necessarily want to change them. And some examples of that would be Selice's shield stances, Havilar's imps, or nerds, the nerds that are in the minecart. So the solution we kind of came up with that we think is a pretty good trade-off for that would be a feat that just basically causes them to not be able to be targeted by those, or not be able to have their ultimate activated by wandering familiars. And I think this idea of expanding that functionality to maybe have a feat for Havilar where she starts with a particular imp would also be a great kind of use of feats for those kind of systems where we're looking for just a one-off that's like not widely used across the champions, and can be solved with the minor trade-off of you lose a little bit of power through another feat you could have used, but you get that flexibility on that champion. So yeah.
All right, next question. This is from Bidkengula, I think, Benkala. Anyway, the question is, what about giving players named titles? Like in WoW, where, for example, if you complete every mission of a campaign, or if you have a very hard achievement, you get a title, or where other players may see it in multiplayer modes.
Yeah, I think that's a cool idea. I think this question probably came up because we were talking about the new collections dialogue that is in development, and we were speaking kind of briefly about having some sort of wall of heroes or something for people who have completed certain categories of achievements or collection to 100%, as an alternative to the idea of a leaderboard, which it doesn't work as well with the kind of game that we have here. And so, yeah, I think the idea of having some sort of secondary rewards from those that you can use to kind of brag a little bit, but without going full leaderboard, where you can be like, oh, I'm first or second or third or 10th or 100th, I think is not a bad idea.
Okay. Well, looks like that's all we pulled forward from last week. So on to this week's questions. First question out of the gate this week is from Library of Akasha. Can you add a setting to disable wild offers and other paid deals from showing up on the main screen? It is a hassle to click X to get rid of them while resetting or changing adventures.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think the short answer is no. I don't think we'll be doing that. We gotta eat, and having things show up in the game where people who want to support the game can spend money it's going to be a thing in free-to-play games, and it's not something we're likely to provide an opt-in option to get rid of.
Yeah, and I mean, I see the comment continuing in the chat, but it is also one of those things where if you don't offer it, even if someone didn't want one offer at one time, they may want one in the future. So it's not something that we're always going to hide away.
We're always trying to offer like cooler and cooler stuff, like cooler and cooler skins, and you never know when someone who is like, I'm never going to pay in this game, we might show them something that they'd be interested in. So we got to keep on showing those things.
Yep, definitely. Next question. This one is from Numantis. Can you understand why veteran players are unhappy that they are locked out of getting certain bonus quests because they already did content? The argument that you can do higher tiers doesn't wash because new players will be able to do them in the future, while vets will only get to redo the 2 highest tiers. It feels like you are actively discouraging people from doing anything that isn't a quest just in case it becomes one in the future.
Yeah, so there's a couple. There's going to be a lot of questions about the bonus quests today, I imagine, and there's a couple of things I want to address in this one here. So I've seen this kind of complaint about the tiered ones. So these would be the ones that are out right now for like get to a certain area in High Harvesttide free plays and then reset. And it has 18 tiers. And if you can get to area 2000 in High Harvesttide and you have enough event tokens, you can do all of those tiers now. And then the next time that type of quest showed up, you would only be offered the top 2 tiers. So you'd be offered a quest to get to level 1900 and one to get to level 2000. And I have seen people say that this isn't fair because new players will be able to do more of those. But that's not actually true. For the most part, you can, so say you're a veteran player and you do 15 tiers the first time around. and there's a newer player who does 4 tiers the first time around. So you'll do 15 tiers. You'll have 15 tiers of reward. The next time it comes around, you'll be offered, I guess, if you did 15, you'd be offered 5 tiers. So your maximum possible tiers after that second one is 15 plus 5, which is 20. And the player who just completed 4 will be offered 16 tiers, because it'd be the 4 tiers they completed minus 2, and 4 plus the 16 tiers they had left over, or those 16 tiers they're offered the next time, is also 20. So with the tiered ones, I don't think there's a discrepancy there. You can basically consider it that you've got kind of 18 tiers plus 2 for however many more you see in the future. So everyone will be able to get the same amount of season XP out of it for those ones. I think there's a lot of questions here about sort of discouraging people from doing things that aren't, or like new adventures or things like that in the future. And I mean, not the whole purpose, but one of the big purposes of bonus quests is to get people to engage with those systems because they weren't engaging with them. One of the things we kind of saw, a big change we saw in player behavior when we rolled out seasons, is that players began focusing very much on the quests we were asking them to do in seasons. They were just focusing on the daily quests, the seasonal quests, and the milestone quests, and pretty much ignoring the rest of the content in the game. Now, this wasn't everyone, but on average, we were seeing a lot less engagement with adventures, with patron challenges, with stuff like that. And so one of the things that we really want to do with bonus quests is encourage people, give people a reward to go and do that stuff. And so that's kind of one of the big things we wanted to do with it. And it's not something we can do with kind of the main season quests because of the fact that people can be, could have already done the quests or the content we're asking them to do. And so the bonus quests were kind of the middle ground on that, where we wanted to provide a sort of an incentive to go do that stuff, but also something that wasn't like required to do a season. So you can get all the XP you want, all the XP you need rather, to get all of the rewards for a season. And then these are bonus quests that will give you bonus XP for those bonus rewards, which are all very much secondary rewards that are not part of the main sort of season push. And that's my answer to this question. We'll see what my answer is to additional questions.
All right. Sure. Next question is from Hunters UK, asking, can we get it so the outgoing champion effects stay in the same order through all adventure?
Yeah, I highlighted this one because I wasn't sure if you kind of had an idea of this. It feels like something we should be able to do by just kind of sorting that stuff by like some internal IDs or something, or even alphabetical. But I wasn't sure if you had an opinion on this one here.
This is going to be on the character sheet
on the champion profile. Yeah.
I didn't realize that they were changing order, I guess. So
it must be something to do with the order that they're applied. Like they must just be pulling them off in like application order or something. But it feels like something we should be able to adjust.
Yeah, or even add a filter to them or sort to them.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can take a look at that. Oops, wrong button.
The next one here is from Emote, who asks, is it okay to ask for more focus to be put onto the changelogs again? The patch last week added quite a lot that went completely unmentioned, like buying more chests, the default skin inclusive in random skin mode, base enemy health in the bud menu, and the hide lower UI button, just to name a few.
All of those items have something in common, don't they?
They're all added by Mark.
Yeah, they were all part of the features that Mark has been working on for the developer instance, for the stream list, and clearly because he doesn't typically work on those type of features, he didn't know he was supposed to put them in the changelog, so I can make sure that he gets those put into the changelog, but that's clearly why they weren't there, because Mark typically works on systems that aren't don't know what the best way to describe it. He's kind of afloat right now, working on because he's sort of more of a senior developer, working on features that are a little more complicated and some back end stuff and like the offline stuff, and now these pieces. So it's not something that would have been top of mind for him, but we can make sure that that gets tagged for the next set. Okay. Next question. This is from Fewer Pills asking, what did we older players do to deserve, oh, here we go, being punished having done things like champion achievements? Bonus quests really feel like a kick in the nuts. Okay. And by far the hardest ever since the first closed beta for this game. Please just give us all quests and have them autocomplete or replaced by harder quests with the same XP amount.
Yeah, so I'm gonna assume this is a little bit of an exaggeration, or Fewer Pills has never actually been kicked in the nuts. But one of the things that we're looking at for bonus quests moving forward, and one of the things we were well aware of putting together this set of bonus quests, is that we definitely want to have some better balance between sort of newer players and older players. It is our intention that everyone be able to get roughly the same amount of XP from bonus quests, but we do want to be able to offer those ones to be like complete a base adventure, complete a patron variant, etc. That extreme sort of endgame players may not have. And so one of the things we're looking at doing for sort of future weeks and for future seasons is to anytime we do a quest that it is possible that you might not be able to do it. So for example, if we do a quest where it's like complete a new base adventure, we would then offer an alternative quest for people who have all the base adventures done, which would be something that would be like much harder for someone who's a newer player to do. So in terms of, so that's sort of what we want to do to try and address this. In terms of having them just given an autocomplete if you've already done that, that's not something we want to do. It doesn't really make sense from a design side or game side to basically just reward you over and over and over and over and over for something that you did years and years ago. And I think that would result in order to address that, we would have to either like severely nerf the XP amounts or else just accept the fact that we're giving you half of your season progress completely for free from these bonus quests because you, like every single season, because you did some stuff in the game years and years ago. So I think that there's a middle ground here in terms of, somewhere between autocomplete and just having some different quests for people who have already completed the stuff that might be limited in amount.
Yeah, and I think you kind of alluded to something there that may have not been like perfectly clear before, and that is that if these type of bonus quests get reused, say in season 6 or season 7, and if it was again autocomplete all the way up, does that mean that every season you end up getting the credit all the way to wherever you're at every season, which doesn't make sense because it would be repeated. But I don't think it was clear before that would have been sort of that would have been the catch that would have come with that if we'd added an autocomplete option to these.
Yeah, and I think this is a brand new system that has gone out. It went out yesterday, and I think we're going to be watching the feedback. We're going to be watching how both the feedback and how from the community, and as well as sort of how if these quests are kind of doing the things that we want them to do for people in the game, and we'll definitely be we always listen to the community, and we're always willing to make changes if good arguments are made. And so I think that keep on giving us your feedback, and we'll keep on reading your feedback. And if there's compelling arguments made there and we agree with them, then we'll absolutely make changes.
Okay. Next question. This one is from the 22 Dragons. What are the chances for Jaheira to gain also the affiliation of the absolute adversaries and an old druid skin to represent her version in Baldur's Gate 3? I think it would be very cool.
Yeah, I think that would be cool too. I wouldn't be surprised to see something along that line or something along that track down the road. I think we're definitely looking at doing some stuff with Jaheira and Minx to kind of tie into their Baldur's Gate 3 appearances at some point. And Viconia, perhaps, too. Hashtag spoilers.
All right.
Let's see. Yeah, the next one here is from Leilokan the Yeti, who asks, does see any review suggestions and ideas from the Discord channel and escalate viable ones to the devs? Suggestions made during the stream often get instant feedback, maybe mentioned weekly if they're added to the design plans, so the Discord channel feels a bit like a black hole in comparison.
Yeah, so certainly we do get ideas passed along from the Discord. I'm not sure exactly what the sort of, I know that there's a procedure on that in terms of what, something that like Sean or Trevor or Taylor see, any of the mods that are and often will grab feedback from the Discord and share it in the Champions. We have a channel actually in our internal communication for suggestions that have been made, and so a lot of them do end up in there. But I don't know exactly sort of what percentage get passed along, but we do get quite a few. Basically every day suggestions get passed into that channel that come through from the Discord and also through support and tickets. So definitely a lot of that gets passed on. But without being in the Discord continually myself, I'm not 100% sure sort of what level of that gets passed on, but enough that we get suggestions copied and pasted in there every day. Okay, next question. This one is from Loopy79. Can the new tier-based bonus quest be changed so that a single push to Area 2000 is enough to finish all tiers of the quest? Having to do 18 consecutive free plays at slowly increasing area goals for a total minimum area completion of 20,700 just really feels not fun and bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I appreciate that feedback. I think these tiered ones are a place where I think there is the possibility for some improvement there. The intention of them is that you kind of we're encouraging players to push further than they generally do in free plays, in future one comes up in terms of DPS and gold collected and areas reached and stuff like that. And so I think that finding some way to kind of transition those to something that functions like you're saying here is probably something we'll want to do down the road. I think for season 5, we're experimenting with what works in these bonus quests, and I think as we move forward, much like there were quests in season 1, season 2 that we tried out and players just hated, and we got that feedback and we heard it and we changed things for future seasons. So I think that this is going to be something where we can iterate on that one to try and make it achieve our goal and not feel like it's too much of a grind.
All right. Next question. This is from Gary ___. Who thought it was a smart idea to implement a system in which veteran players get punished for actively playing the game? It doesn't feel good to get less quests. Just because you happen to do the event in a previous year, for example, it doesn't make much sense that since I can reach the max zone, but starting the game later than someone else, I just get a free 1,500 extra experience for the season pass. The quest should be the same for everyone, even if some cannot be completed.
Yeah, so I mean, this is mostly the same kind of feedback we've read before, but it touched on something that I did want to reiterate, the idea of the quests being the same for everyone, even if some cannot be completed. I think the thing we'd like to try is rather the amount of XP you can gain should be the same for everyone, even if the quests are different. I think that's what we kind of want to aim for with this system. I would rather not give people XP for doing nothing or for stuff they've done years ago. And I would rather have these quests be something you have to actively do now in order to get the XP. So that's kind of, I think, the end goal for this stuff. And hopefully we can find a way to get there with enough kind of interesting mechanics and interesting things to do. But with that said, the quests for season 5, for basically the remaining weeks of season 5, are designed and implemented, and so there might be some situations in there where we're not doing the things that we're saying we want to do. But moving through season 6 and into season 7, I think we'll start to see some of this feedback be reflected in the quest design there.
Yeah, and one thing that is definitely worth reiterating on that is that certainly there's no fun if you open the season dialogue. You open to start a season and you complete one quest and the season's half finished. So, I mean, retroactively crediting some of that would have just made the season less fun. Just taken away the activity you had to do. Not that I think there's a half season worth of XP in there. Actually,
No,
it's quite a bit less than that. But certainly, it kills the fun if you start the game and it's finished. So I think we always keep that in mind. Next question. This is from the 22 Dragons, and they would like to know, shouldn't certainty also belong to the C team? Faction, affiliation. No, they said faction, but affiliation. I remember the creator Omen saying that she was with the C team at the beginning. Any chance for her to gain double affiliation?
Yeah, so I don't know the specifics of this. I generally don't sit on the creator calls directly anymore, but I think if they were, I think it was probably a conscious choice to have her just in AC Inc. But I can maybe check in on this and see if I can get some more information about why or why not she was why she was not in the C team as well. But yeah, I believe it was something to do with maybe like the latest season where she was kind of promoted or something to full AC Inc. or something like that. But I don't know the specifics.
Okay.
And do you want to do the next question before the giveaway or the giveaway first?
Let's do the giveaway.
Let's do the giveaway. Let's do it. All right. So this is the fact portion of the stream now, where we are going to give away 42 chests of your choice. If you win, you get to pick what type of chest, and we'll put 42 of that chest onto your account. We will insert it gently into your account. The way it works, oh my God. The way it works is there will be a keyword in chat. All you have to do is copy and paste that keyword back into chat, and you will be entered for a chance to win those 42 chests. Today's keyword is feedback, because there's been a lot of feedback.
Can you get a feedback chest? Like it's a high pitched, like no, maybe.
Yeah. No, higher pitch. Sorry, what was that like?
I can't do
I'm
it.
like
Sorry.
tapping my ear as if like that would help me hear through the headphones.
Perhaps
anyway,
a poison chest, a diseased chest, a cursed chest.
It does have to be a type of chest that exists in game. It can't just be a made up chest. We're not going to create a new type of chest to give it to you. A
shattered chest.
So
an infected chest.
Oh, it's giving me PTSD back to Bushwhacker 1. A shattered mana and power vials.
A chest of weakness. A demoralizing chest. I don't know. I'm still a fan of the aluminum chests. So
yeah, go for aluminum chest.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's go on to our next question. Good luck to everyone entering that that giveaway. The next question is from Loopy79, who asks, can the left side buttons in the new quest display screen be shrunk slightly so that we can see all the buttons on the screen at once without needing to use the scroll bar? Also, can time until new quests and time until end of season be added to the daily, seasonal, and milestone buttons, the same as time to complete currently exists on the bonus quest buttons?
Let's see. Can the left side buttons be shrunk slightly? I mean, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, we're always going to end up in a case where we may have to scroll to see everything, depending on how many we add there. But it is possible that we could make those a little bit smaller so you can see more at once. You can take a look at that. I'll tag that just to see if that makes any sense. And then also, can the time until new quests and time until end of season be added? Yeah, I think so. I mean, the daily will just be a countdown to the end of the day. Time until end of season. Yeah, we can look at that too. See what makes sense. I will tag it. Oh, I'll hit the wrong button again. I'm really doing that today. All right. Cool.
Alrighty. Next question here is also from Loopy79. Apparently, you have to have like numbers in your name to have questions answered today. Their question this time is, can the in-game size of the item card pop-ups be increased, allowing for the viewing of all relevant information, i.e. the item effect, the legendary effect, pigment effects, and flavor text at a glance, rather than having to wait for the slow as molasses auto-scroll to eventually get down to the part of the card we actually want to read?
Yeah, that's a fun one, and I know we spent
these cards
significant amount of time sort of debating on how to best show that additional information on the cards. You know, whether that should be another card like next to it that had the details, or whether that was like the whole section of text would fade into the next section, or whether it, as obviously it ended up with the scrolling. Yeah, no, it's a good question. We don't have like an easy and obvious answer for that, not without redoing like the actual card art. And that one is actually a royal pain in the butt based on how that's all laid out.
Gosh, yes.
Yeah. I mean, it is something that if this is a request that gets repeated, that it might be a way for us to have another pop-up that you could, click on to get the data all in one spot. But the card itself is kind of a tricky beast, and it's not something that we'd want to spend a lot of time working on. Like I say, unless there'd been a repeated request for something like this, because the card itself is actually like I say, the word I'm using is it's a bit of a beast, especially code wise, like the way it's laid out. It would be a non-insignificant task to attempt to make changes to that. Yeah. But certainly, if it's a repeated request, we could think about another way to show all of that text, potentially like on the side or something else, maybe through a setting.
Multiple cards, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Ooh. The next question is from OG17, continuing the trend of having a number in your name.
It's a load-bearing card, yes.
OG17's question is, can the quest tracker completely hide itself when empty? The star has been on the side of the screen since it was added, even if you don't use it. And when it's empty, you can't do anything by interacting with it anyway.
I mean, we wouldn't... I guess we could add a setting for that. We wouldn't want to like sort of remove the fact that it's a system you could interact with. I know certainly sort of seeing it there on screen is a good way to let new players know that, hey, there's an option here. But
I think what he's saying is like when the star is there and you click to open it, you can't do anything with that actual dialogue until you've gone into another dialogue and followed a quest.
Right, but the request is that the quest tracker icon be hidden when it's not being used. Mm-hmm. You're suggesting that either they have no quest tracked or they've got every single quest done.
No, I'm saying that if you choose not to track any quests, mm-hmm. and then you click the star on the side of the screen.
Yep.
There's nothing you can't add quests to it from there.
That's
you
true.
Can't do anything with it.
That's true too.
So
there's two questions here, right? The first question is, can the quest tracker be completely hidden when empty? So potentially. And the fact that you can't do anything with it is sort of insult to injury. I think that was the statement. Was there's nothing I can do here, and there's still an icon here.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. The argument for keeping it there, I guess, is that it does kind of tease that there exists a quest tracker.
Yeah, it's there.
Even if you can't do anything with it right away. But yeah, I think there could be an option to not have it there when it's empty.
Yeah, I think that could be a setting. All right. Moving on.
All right, next question from Aspilla357. Keeping the trend going. I'm looking at you, Lurking Writer. In a couple of questions, you're going to ruin our trend. So Aspilla357 asks, for the bonus season quests, once they are completed, can you show the XP value in the completion history? This did not matter with the daily/seasonal/milestones, since each one only had one value.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't add that to that display. So I'll tag it. We'll add it.
Yeah, I'll have to double check that.
You're saying you don't have that? Well, you'll have to add it, Justin.
No, it definitely comes back while you're in the date range where it could be, but I think after the date range is over, it might start knocking it off. Anyway,
we'll add it. It'll be fine.
Alrighty.
Next question. This one is from Loopy79. Has any thought been given to making campaign unlockable familiars, in much the same way as there are currently campaign unlockable champions? It'd be a really nice goal for people to be able to work towards, especially for newer players who may otherwise feel chronically familiar starved.
Yeah, I think that a familiar in a campaign is not something that is impossible. I think it's something we've potentially discussed before. There are some extra familiars you can get from patrons, or at least one extra familiar from patrons. So when we add our next patron, that'll be another free familiar that'll be accessible to people. But yeah, I mean, I think I wouldn't be surprised if at some point in the future there's a campaign unlockable familiar hidden somewhere deep inside a campaign on like a third variant that is ridiculously hard.
Okay.
So that's where I like to hide my familiars.
I wasn't familiar with that. Anyway, next question. This is from the Lurking Writer. Will you apologize to Sean for running slightly late to compensate for the truncated beginning of the show? Whistles innocently, fails.
Thank you, the Lurking Writer, too, for your question. I don't know. Are we gonna run a few minutes late, or are we just gonna? I think we're probably just going to wrap up on time and just. We've got a lot of questions here, so we'll have a lot to choose from for next week's show.
We'll just have to speak quicker, Justin. Faster.
Okay. So no, we won't apologize to Sean.
We're not apologizing.
We're not going to wrong Sean. It's all right. I do want to mention just quickly, I am skipping over some questions that are about the season bonus stuff that I feel like we've already addressed. So if I didn't answer your question and it was about season bonus stuff, then hopefully I have addressed your concern or at least talked about your concern in one of these questions.
Is there an account in here called the Lurking Writer 2 that asked that?
No, I added the 2 just to keep the numbers going.
Oh.
I've just been randomly adding numbers to people's names now.
I see. Okay. It's quite the number you chose there. Next question from Clay Anthony 8, apparently. With the new season quest layout, is there any plan to add patron challenges into this UI and make it an overall quests dashboard, independent of the seasonal UI?
That is an interesting question. I thought this is a really interesting question because one of the reasons we did bonus quests the way they were, and I think I talked about this on last week's episode before we'd even announced or shown off bonus quests, was that one of the kind of side effects that we've had with seasons is that everyone now is focusing very much on the season's dialogue. It's kind of like you load up the game, you go to the season's dialogue, you see what you're going to do today, and you go do that stuff. And that was one of our theories about why players are not necessarily engaging with the base adventures or the patrons and that stuff anymore, is because we're so focused on just getting those season quests done. And so it's kind of funny that you would then ask to have the patron challenges added into the season dialogue quests UI, so that you would, remember to go and do those things as well. So I don't know that we would add. I don't think we'll add the patron challenges into the season's quest UI. But it's a good argument for kind of down the road thinking about doing some sort of unified quest UI, independent of seasons. We'll see.
Okay, next question. This is from Rough Rider 1995. Have you decided how many gems the unaffiliated core will cost when it's released in November?
So this answer is going to sound kind of glib. No, we have not. I still have at least a month before I have to answer this question. So no, we have not figured that out yet. We have briefly talked about it in terms of sort of how we want to present that core, but no, we don't know how many it's going to cost yet. Keep asking me so that I keep remembering that that's something I need to figure out before November.
See, now I'm not sure which names have numbers on them and which don't. I feel like you added this number, but you didn't add the previous one. This next question is from Lightning Hawk, potentially Lightning Hawk 1, 2, 3, 4, but I think that is perhaps, as pointed out in the chat, that Justin has too much power and should be nerfed with a full dismantle.
Ouch. Why do you want to get rid of my gear? It's good stuff.
You need new gear. Anyway, they ask, first off, thank you for making seasonal and milestones easier to read with the new screen tabs in the game. Now you can make the bonus quests easier to go through. Maybe get rid of the arrows in front of the bonus and core names so it doesn't look like they should be collapsible.
So I mainly highlighted this because I thought it was funny, because the last part of this about the little sort of carrots in front of the bonus and core names, making it look like they would be collapsible, is something that we actually debated quite vehemently internally. One of our developers was like, we should absolutely, people are going to complain about that, and then like the artist who worked on the UI was like, no, it's fine, we've done this before in other places. And then the dev was like, well, yeah, we did that before, and then we actually made them collapsible because that's what they looked like. So TLDR, I think we will either try and get rid of them or make them actually collapsible. But in terms of making the bonus quests easier to go through, I think this first week, I think there are 3 or 4 categories of quests. Most weeks won't have that many categories. I think we have 3 or 4. I think we had 4 this week. In any case, most weeks won't have that many categories, and so there will kind of over time be less categories there, and it will be a little bit easier to kind of see them, assuming that you're getting them done kind of quickly and on time, because otherwise, if you let them stack up between weeks, you might have more categories there.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about the arrows for the collapsible is that those arrows came from the other UI. This is why they were following the same design language, and so the daily, seasonal, and milestone quests all had those arrows next to them in the previous version.
Yeah,
and nobody asked about them being collapsed, as far as I know.
They didn't look collapsible. Like they weren't like a list of things, right?
Contextually, they're slightly different, but that's where that UI, like those were those arrows came from. They were always on the headers of those categories. So.
Cool. Next question here is from Raphael 90340. I didn't add any of those numbers. And their question is, I know that this has probably been asked and answered already, but do the Unity changes affect the development of IdleChampions a lot?
Yeah, so I know at this point most people are familiar that the controversy around Unity announcing that they were going to be charging for runtime of their game installs, and they changed that a couple of times, I think, to where it is now, which is at, what was the percent they're asking for now, Justin? Was it 3-4%?
It's
2.5%.
So they're still doing the runtime thing, but now it caps at 2.5% of gross revenue. Over
$1 million installs.
Over $1 million. Over $1 million. It's who knows?
Yeah, I mean.
Who knows what it'll be by the time it actually affects us?
That's true. It may change again. We'll see. It could, but this does seem more like where they're likely to land. It does only impact Unity from 2024 forward, which I think for what they were stating was the Unity Long-Term Service Edition, Unity 2023 Long-Term Service and up, which actually means in general we can probably continue to run on the versions of Unity that we've been using to build, which have ranged from I think 2017 through to 2022, depending on which platform we're building for. Unfortunately, due to some platform restrictions, I think Xbox in particular, we're stuck on an older version just due to compatibility issues, and that we'd have to actually run the whole game through another set of certifications.
We'll never have to pay for installs on Xbox. That's the worst.
So as long as we're running under those, I think we're going to be in good shape for some time. So I don't think it actually impacts us too much, at least not at the moment, but in a few years' time, it could be something that becomes a consideration. Yeah. Okay, next question. This is from Gauntlet Blade 3. Did you add that, or is that?
That's Gauntlet Blade -3, sir.
Oh, I see.
Clearly.
Not dash days, -3. Okay, Gauntlet Blade -3 asks, I have several completed bonus quests which are labeled TBD and TBD Tier 1-5. What are they, and will their rewards drop?
Yeah, so the completed bonus quests with the TBD labels that some players are seeing are bonus quests from future weeks that were incorrectly flagged as completed. And those will be removed from your completed bonus quest list, and you'll be able to do them when they come up at their proper times. But the rewards from them, you actually already got them. So you might not have noticed, but you did get some extra season XP from those ones. And that is a unfortunate side effect of this being a new system with a couple of small bugs, which we are patching up as quickly as we can. So there's a little bit of bonus XP there for folks who managed to trigger those bugs through actions not at all part of their own.
Okay.
That doesn't even make sense. Anyway, next question is from Rangzor7, who asks, who writes the opening time filler scripts at the start of these shows?
Well, I mean, rights might be a strong word. Technically, we do write them down. Typically, whoever gets to it first. So we kind of
Dave and I write them.
yeah,
yes.
Yeah.
We don't have a huge team of. We don't go to the writing room an hour before the show and be like, "All right, we got to come up with a good one, guys."
Yeah, that one time that we got ChatGPT to do it, it was a lot better. But
it was a lot better that time.
Yep. I don't know what else to say to that other than yeah.
I agree.
Sometimes they're fun. Sometimes we just run out of time and have to come up with whatever we come up with.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to read the next question?
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I was looking for more questions. This next one is from Hunters UK, who asks, will you add a hotkey for the lower UI?
That is a good question. I mean, the lower UI option was something that I know Mark did as part of the list of items that was on the Dev Insights list of items, and the next item on the list that's still on the list, I don't know if it's exactly the next item on the list, but it is on the list, is to make sure that all new systems have hotkeys. So whether or not that system is in the list of systems that are going to get a hotkey, I'm going to have to check with Mark, but I feel like as long as we can find a hotkey for it, I felt like there was an issue of there being a lot of the keys being spoken for. But yeah, maybe it's just like like shift or control plus the key that does the top one. That might do it.
Yeah, I know the last time we added hotkeys, we were stretching quite a bit to have the hotkeys be anywhere close to intuitive for the things that they hotkey. But yeah.
Oh, Mars is saying here that Mark did finish the new hotkeys and they went out. Uh-oh. I'm going to have to check that. I didn't think it was on like Mark's list of fully completed things, but I'll check with him and see.
No, I know we did some ones like, yeah, they're talking about them in chat here. There's like K for quests and the Z for or Z, I guess, for seasons. So yeah, there's some interesting hotkey options there.
Right. Well, it's tricky.
Alrighty. Next question I've got here is from Lake TT, who asks, any chance we can make it so that when I'm farming Fae, humanoids, etc. with one of my background teams, that they stay on the level I leave them on? Once I put them in the background, they advance to their farthest level automatically.
Because this is the auto progress is always on. I mean, there is an option in the settings that you can check off, which is to always use offline progress or always use auto progress in background. Or always use
is that for background? I don't know.
Always.
I don't know if that setting is actually.
It should be.
Does it work anymore?
I didn't know that it didn't work.
Okay.
But certainly, sort of, there's.
It does still work. Yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a setting that you necessarily because it is global. It's not it doesn't apply to an individual party. So turning that off.
Yeah. Maybe it needs to be something that you can toggle on each individual party.
Yeah, it's a thought. Yeah, and that needs a little bit of thought. That's what that does. Okay.
Agreed.
Okay, I think though, unless you want to really quickly
We can do this one more one here. Yeah.
Okay. Then the next question, which is going to be the last question today, is from Peter D. Pan. Peter D20 Pan. Yes, thanks, Justin. Any plans for another background party? I just use them for doing patron chores, and I'd love not to have to switch another patron in once a week. I know, luxury problem.
Yeah, we've been talking about potentially adding another party. Unfortunately for you, we were thinking about adding another party in conjunction with adding another patron. So that is something that is on our radar in terms of adding another party there. So potentially in the future.
Okay.
In the nearest future, I guess I should say.
Yeah. And on that, it looks like that's all we've got time for.
Yes. If we didn't get to your question this week, don't worry, you'll have another opportunity. We will be live again next week for our penultimate to our 100th episode. Before that makes it sound like our 100th episode is going to be our last episode. Oh dear.
Well, we can't fit 3 digits in the title, so
that's true. It only fits 2. Anyway, before we sign off, though, we'd like to thank our tireless mods who copy your questions into our questions doc and moderate chat. So thanks to Mars and Gabe.
And of course, thanks to all of you for hanging out, watching the stream, asking such great questions, and for enjoying the game. Because without you, no one here would get to do what we do.
And we like what we do.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. All right, Justin.
Oh, dear.
When did dinosaurs have 3 butts?
I don't know when.
During the Triassic era.